Grant, always a pleasure, mate. So today you're back out on the water. I'm talking to you before the boat gets towed out, and you're going to go late morning out there. Well, it's only a 4K easterly. Is that picking up at all?
Yeah, it's supposed to, and it's pretty much perfect. We relaunched the AC75 to Raritai on Monday, but it blew hard the last couple of days. So because there's a lot of alterations to the boat, we need to go through a slow build, wind-wise, and slow build development-wise. So take it out with not much wind, and then slowly through the day it'll build. But it's a 5, 6, 7 week process to get data and to get the boat to where we want to get it, to learn things from it. So today's just a really early stage.
Okay, so just explain then to all of us, numpty, sort of us lay people. So the boats that you used last time, any kind of extra developments on this one? We know that the cycles are coming back and things, but how different is this boat?
Yeah, well, what we wanted to do in terms of trying to cap cost, what we didn't want to do was allow these boats the boats from last time to be so heavily modified that it's a bit like renovating a house. Sometimes it's cheaper to build a new house. So we didn't want them to be allowed to be renovated, if you like, so much that they cost a bloody fortune. So we were quite specific with the control on the rule to the alteration of what we call legacy boats. So there's not a lot visually to see. There's some things. Cycles is the most obvious one, but there's a lot under the skin in terms of the systems and the efficiency and the way the boat delivers its power, which is where the development is. And any of the teams will be in the same position. And it'll take us a while to actually, because you sort of throw everything at the wall and then pick off the things that you think are good to go forward. It'll take us a while to find out how those things work and whether they increase performance and how much they can increase performance.
Does it make the boat go faster? I mean, that has been the Team New Zealand ethos forever, hasn't it? So that still hasn't changed. I mean, it's just simply all about that.
Well, it's always about that for any team. You've got to get the boat. The fastest boat wins the America's Cup, and the America's Cup's already over. We just don't know who won yet. So the decisions that teams are making right now and really made 6 months ago to alterations of boats that they would have had will absolutely dictate the end result in October next year, because all those teams, including us, are very close to having to start building their race boats. I mean, it's come around bloody fast. And because the race boats take 10 months to build, and you've got to go on the water kind of mid next year to be ready.
So hang on a second, just trucking back to that. So you're saying that there's not a lot extra you can do right now. So you're saying, from the last America's Cup, that these boats, the new generation boats, the designs and everything, they're pretty much set in concrete.
No. Look, even if the rule had not altered, the boats would still go significantly faster because of the development technology-wise. I am in awe of our guys. I go down and below in the boat, and I just think, how the hell, or what planet do they, or what are they smoking that comes up with some of these ideas? I mean, it's remarkable for me. I mean, I'm in kind of management, if you like, how these guys think this through. The boat's performance in this boat, which was the boat we won 2 years ago, and the step on to, and it's a test boat now for its the new sibling, will be a massive. I mean, the way I'd say it's, if the last boat was a calculator, this thing's a bloody Mars moon probe.
Wow.
So there's a massive step on.
You're talking systems, so, but it's not like the layperson can actually look at it and go, oh, wow, there's actually a significant design in the hull shape's different, something's different underneath, nothing like that. You're talking systems. You're talking what's under the deck is what you're talking.
Yeah, not just under the deck. When we, again, coming back to this, trying to stop costs getting out of control. It's not a cheap sport at the best of times. We limited any alteration to the hull shape. So Raritai is going back in the water with the same hull shape, no change. No change to its foils, because you're not allowed to build extra foils unless you want to make it a race foil. So the changes are deck-wise, which is the cyclore. There's some other changes within the deck to the trained eye. Those will be quite visible pretty quickly. But the guts, and it's the same with all the boats, is at the heart, if you like, of the control systems that increase efficiency. Remember, there's only 8 guys on board now instead of 11. So your ability to produce power Even though you go to cycles which produce 30% more power per man, you still don't get yourself back to 11, if you like. So you need to find ways of control, of utilising and harnessing that power in a more efficient way to be able to do more things, because as you develop, there's more things you want to do to the way you sail the boat.
Grant Dalton, boss of Team New Zealand, Emirates Team New Zealand, is with us on the platform. I mean, there's so much shadow boxing goes on. How do you know, or do you have any idea what your rivals do, what they're thinking, what they're planning, and how do you know that you still stay ahead? And how much of a worry is that? I mean, what say that they have this brain that just emerges from nowhere that produces something that you don't even think of?
Well, ask Mercedes Formula One team this year how they think.
Yeah.
You know, with Red Bull is just destroying them, you know. And that's always that, you know, and they won, six World Championships in a row before they were overtaken. So absolutely that is always a concern. And one day someone will catch us. Maybe they already have. And you don't know whether that's the case. All you can do is the best guys that we believe working within Team New Zealand that we can have, bind that into a cohesive unit which is not afraid to take chance, is not afraid to take push risk, and we're in that risk stage now. We don't have to be particularly reliable at the moment. We've just got to be fast and learning, and then combine that with the sailors who have to have a massive input into what they want to achieve in the same way a race driver would, has an input into his car, and try and put it all together and make the sum of the parts greater than the sum of a greater number. 1 + 1 needs to equal 5, not equal 2.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in.
That's the key.
I've been
That's
in your place, and I've seen these massive computers, huge power computers, and people sitting there working away on them, and God knows what they're actually doing. But are they the real heroes to you? Are they? Because these are the people that not a lot of people ever see and know. But these are the people that are doing things that can actually increase your performance and actually can actually win you at America's Cup.
It would be unfair to everyone else to single them out. I mean, obviously the yachties are the thing that people see, but they're end users, even though they have a massive input. I think the heroes are the shore crew, the guys that actually, and the builders that take these ideas. It's a bit like an architect. Then you give it to the builder, and he can't build the house because the architect hasn't got the joins in the right spot, so the builder has to interpret. And it's no different here. The engineers and the designers come up with certain ideas, but it's then got to be put on the water. And with the complexities of some of these ideas, it's then got to be made reliable. I mean, it's all very well to draw a cylinder with 16 hydraulic pipes coming off, feeding into a computer that does X, but you've got to build it and you've got to make it reliable. So I think, they're all heroes to me, right? Everybody in that organisation, they're just amazing human beings. But it's unreasonable to just say it's about the designers as the unsung. If I had to say anybody, I think it's the builders and the shore crew.
Graham, when you get on a boat, like when you get on today, do you know when you're walking around it? I mean, at what stage do you know, man, this is fast, or this has changed, this is going to be faster? How do you actually know? I mean, I know there's data and things, but do you actually have a feeling when you're actually standing there?
Not really. I think the dramatic change between our first generation boat for the last Cup and Torero was obvious visually when you're on, when you were watching from the chase boat and you're in the comms loop with the earpiece and you look over the guy's shoulders at the numbers. I think the difference here will be not as dramatic as that, because that was very dramatic. That was knots and knots. This thing is, these next generation boats and all the teams will be undoubtedly significantly quicker. But I don't think it'll be obvious when you just look at look out and try and watch it against an all head progress-wise. But you will know. Maybe we'll put up a chart at some point in one of the debriefs. We'll lay the numbers over from last time, and then you'll know for sure. But I don't think visually you'll see it.
When you're watching Sail GP and you're looking at all of these guys, and they're all great sailors, they're all great captains. I mean, I watched it on the weekend, and Canada beat us, and Burling said that was absolutely fair, that they sailed really well. At any stage, do you keep track of the other sailors around the world, and do they get better than ours, or how do you know that our guys are, in your mind, the best?
Well, Sail GP is actually quite interesting from that. from that perspective, because I think we as an organisation learn a lot from something like SailGP. And this is how I think about it.
Sure.
Because we are comparing sailors, and I'll use New Zealand's nemesis Spittle as my example.
Oh, he's brilliant, mate.
Well, I disagree with that, frankly.
Oh, you do?
So you're seeing here. Yeah, you're seeing here. This is the way I think about it, right? And
okay.
I don't know whether this is the right analogy, but I'll use it. Let's say Usain Bolt can run a what's his world record?
9:59.
All right, he can run a 9:59. There's probably a lot of people that can run a 9:85, and they could train for the rest of their lives and they'll never run a 9:59. And what you're seeing in SailGP is the rise of our guys. They're pretty dominant, frankly, because they can run a 9:59 and 9:59, and frankly, they're going to run a 9:49 in 3 months' time. But the Spittles of the world will never run more than a 9:85. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the rise of the Team New Zealand yachtsmen because they have the ability to run a 9:59 and faster. Around them, you're not seeing that because they don't have the ability and never will have the ability. Now, Spittle, I use as an example, is a good match racer, but he never will be a patch on the ability of the DNA ability that these guys were born with. He can never run a 9:59. And that's what you're seeing in SailGP, the rise of the Emirates Team New Zealand guys, because they have that ability that they're born with that you can't, you can only teach to a point.
Still, though, does it still irk that he smacked you, though, in San Francisco, does it?
Well, that's Jesus Christ. You ain't got enough time in the next 10 episodes to go through what actually really happened.
Yeah.
But the story isn't as per the urban myth.
Right. A couple of other questions I want to ask you about, just in terms of this boat that's out there. In terms of your sails, in terms of your foils, just everything else that goes, apart from the hull and everything, what else can you do, and how much can technology improve those things? Like, no one ever talks about the sails, and do you still work on those even?
Well, put it this way. If you put the boat in the water and didn't pull any sails up, it wouldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So and they always sort of look the same to the eye, even to my eye. But they are the engine, and if you can grab another, 3 kilowatts out of your Formula One engine, it's going to go faster than the other guy. And the sails are the same. The sails are a massive development tool, and it never stops, particularly in a boat which is so high speed, which needs kind of a full sail to create the power to get it going, the jumbo jet, if you like. Then it needs a F-18 fighter jet wing when it's doing Mach 3. And you've got to try and morph the sail from one to the other, one to get it going, the other one to keep it at very high speed with low drag. And that's a hell of a science. And that is, that's one of the sort of great development areas where all the teams will be working. And I think already, because we've done quite a bit of testing through our smaller boats, we've already made a jump, not a leap, in our sail development.
How do the other teams, how can they spy on that and actually figure that out? Or is that just something that it's just either they can or they can't?
Well, no, they can to a point. It's quite hard to understand the construction of the sail from photographs because the sails are black, carbon, and it's not obvious how they're constructed. And all the teams have their own construction mechanisms in terms of the stresses that are on a sail are all in different directions. They come out of the corners and et cetera. So how you harness those stresses and shape those stresses is a science all on its own, and each team has its own way of doing that.
Grant
so
Dalton,
they can learn.
Keep going.
They can learn from it, but they can't. That's a difficult one to get your head around.
Grant Dalton is with us, boss of Emirates Team New Zealand. 2 quick questions. I'll let you go, mate, because I know you're obviously very, very busy. SailGP, has it helped the America's Cup? Is this going around the world to all of these different ports? Is that good for the America's Cup, and how?
I think it's so different, really, that I don't think it has. It's quite good for our guys because it's just exactly the explanation I gave you before. They're just getting better and better and better, and combining as a unit. Now we're the only America's Cup team that has a full muster of its own guys that sail on the race boat of the America's Cup as well. So that's very good for us. I think it's good for the sport, there's no doubt. But it's also slightly false economy And America's Cup, A, doesn't want to be like that, and 2, couldn't anyway, because, I give an example. I think the financial input of New Zealand into Christchurch was, I don't know, 2.2 million Kiwi, a lot of money. The reality to run that was probably more like 10. So, Uncle Larry, who's putting in 100 million US plus a year to run the thing, it needs that, and good on him for that. I mean, absolute full marks, but it's not sustainable financially as a model, and honestly, no yachting is in that respect.
So when Sir Russell says it's $37 million pumped into every economy and $80 million into the last one in Spain, that those figures they aren't proven?
Oh, I'm not. You're talking two different things. What you're talking about the input into the economy. I mean, if there's a Nielsen report, for example, because otherwise you're just pulling numbers out of your ass, then I'm not going to dispute that. I'm talking about the physical cost of running it as a sustainable, and I mean financially sustainable circuit is impossible without, kind of probably like something possibly like 100 million US input of Larry per year.
All right,
but
finally,
he wants to, and he can, and good on him.
Finally, then, what do you want from today? What do you want to see, and what do you think you'll see or get?
Oh, expectations of today are just to get sales up and see if we get the boat sailing again, and how the systems perform, and where are the bugs, and there'll be bugs. I mean, this is a complicated boat. So no massive expectations for today. That's a question for 5 weeks' time when we've got it all lined out and we're sailing it hard.
We'll catch up then. And when do you actually head off to Barcelona? When does the team go up there?
So our first raid is in July. The team will be there in July through October, then back here, and then go probably again about May next year. So they're relatively short stints. And we've got a boat to build here. We've got 3 boats here right now. So we're very much based here.